So, we're discussing the amazing pastime of Lord Vamandev. And today we will just see the glories of Vamandev and we will summarize the pastime of Vamandev and see Vamandev being quoted in different. And maybe we can do an experiment. Let's do today is another day in which we'll perform so many activities, and perhaps this could be considered our sacrifice of hearing the activities of Vamandev as the texts and the purport suggested. And maybe let's see if it really turns out all auspicious and we get a higher destination. We aren't going to leave our bodies, hopefully, at the end of the day. But definitely in consciousness, we will be somewhere in a much more devotional, in a much more sacred space in our heart. And from that space, we will see amazing thought, word, and action emerging from there. We will surprise ourselves with that kind of. Okay. So, Vamandev, Krishna expands as Lord Balaram. And Balaram, this is happening way up in the spiritual world. And Balaram expands as Sankarshan, who expands as Vasudev, who expands as Anirudh, who expands as Pradyumna. This is called the first quadruple expansion. From that first quadruple, a second quadruple of the same Sankarshan, Vasudev, Aniruddha, Pradyumna emerge. And from that second quadruple come Vamana, Sridhara, and Trivikrama. Vaman, Trivikram, kind of the same person. And then from that, it is said that those three deities take over, take charge of all the, expand and take charge of all the 12 months of the year. And the month of Ashada, which is between June, July, the summer, uh, in India, it is kind of the transition between the summer and the rainy season. So the last month of the summer season is taken over and presided by Vamandev. And Ashada is the very special Ekadashi which comes on that day, which is supposed to be one of the most powerful Ekadashis. On that Ekadashi, if one does any kind of spiritual activity, it's multiplied by 100,000 fold. And so Vamandev, thus he is present in every year of our life. And Vamandev's description comes in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, very interestingly, that he is actually in Sakhyaras. He's actually in Sakhyaras. Sorry, one second. Sorry. And the babies in the house wake up and the whole neighborhood wakes up with them. So sorry for that. And in the Sakhyaras, it's described that Vamandev was in Sakhyaras in the Bhakti Samrit Sindhu. He was in Sakhyaras. He came in this very, in a way, a very friendly and beautiful attitude to please his devotee Bali Maharaj, and as a friend of Indra to support him. Of course, Upendra is described as the younger brother. And also very interestingly, Vamandev controls in Vedic astrology, there are 9 planets which govern or influence our life, phases of our life, our mentalities, etc. And of all the 9 planets, the most powerful planet is Guru or Jupiter. And the lord of Jupiter is Vamandev. And Jupiter is the only planet which has no enemy. All the other planets in our astrological charts, if your astrologer tells you, oh, you've got a very good Mars, but there is a moon with the Mars and their enemies. I don't know, I'm just making that up, but like this, every planet has a friend and an enemy, and someone goes here, but Jupiter is the only all-friendly planet presided by Vamandev. Whoever Jupiter is with, he's happy to be with, and he's always pleasing him, like is Sri Vamandev. And Vamandev appeared in the 8th Manu, the Manu of Sarvani. And we will discuss the summary of this beautiful pastime. So there is one very so many places the summary of this beautiful pastime is spoken. And one place it is spoken, I will tell you the context of that, where it is spoken. So in the Mahabharat war, after the war took place, the greatest of all warriors and generals, Bhishma Dev, one of the 12 Mahajans, one of the 12 um, personalities who we can we can follow in their footsteps, who have set such an exalted standard of life and devotion and teachings, and they're counted as the 12 Mahajans. And one of them is the great warrior general Bhishma Dev, who lived for a long, long life, about 160 years or so, and he saw almost 4 or 5 generations of the Kuru dynasty. And he was the one person who just kept everything together and only prayed and hoped for the dharma to be established back in the kingdom of the entire planet. And his life was just a life of complete sacrifice and austerity and struggle and internally pure devotional service. And finally, this great general, after such a beautiful life, he took sides with actually the evil side, Duryodhana, and yet he knew he's playing a certain role. And on the 10th day of this battle, he falls. That warrior who could never be defeated by anybody willingly falls, and he's willingly happy to finally say that my role in this life is over. Now, Krishna, I'm all yours. Whatever duties, responsibilities I had to do, it's done. I did it to the best of my ability. Now I'm all yours. And he falls down and he lies there on a bed of arrows, waiting for Uttarayan, waiting for um, the sun to rise in the north. And that's the external understanding. But what he really waited for was Narayana, which is Krishna, to come and be the last person he'll see before he leaves his body. And for 2 months, he's lying on the battle on a bed of arrows. And the last end of that time, when by Krishna's arrangement, Maharaj Yudhishthir goes into a dilemma, no, goes into a philosophical, emotional, all kind of bewildered conflict, very similar to what happened to Arjuna at the beginning of the Gita. He suddenly starts asking to everyone, what is the use of this war? What did I get? We just killed thousands and millions of men. And what did I do? Who? And he gets so confused that what is the point? And he just can't answer that question. And he goes to everyone. Nobody can satisfy him. He even asks Krishna, and Krishna's answer can't satisfy him. And Krishna says there's only one person who can answer this question. So that's Bhishma. And then the entire Pandava Kuru dynasty, they go to Bhishma. And for several days, this man who's almost dead on a bed of arrows with arrows piercing his body so much there's no space to put one finger between them, he speaks the greatest wisdom of uh, eternal instruction for different, all kinds of dharmas for a king. What is dharma for the four um, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? What is dharma for how do you do politics? What is this? Everything he gives the advice of the world in that condition. And in the end of all of this description, Yudhishthir then asks him a very beautiful question. After he's described so much, then Yudhishthir says, and I'll read these beautiful shlokas. And what I'm about to read is the Vishnu Sahasranama, which is the most auspicious prayer, which is chanted all over India. And it is highly recommended to go through this and remember and recite. It just creates instantly such a wonderful spiritual atmosphere. So Vishnu Sahasranama, it goes like this. Vaishampayan Uvacha. So Vaishampayan, the author of the Mahabharata, recital of the Mahabharata. Shrutva dharmana sheshena pavanani cha sarvashah yudhishthira shantavanam punar evabhyabhashata. So Shrutva dharma, after hearing about dharma, asheshena, unlimited uh, exposition. That's the right word. Unlimited exposition on dharma by Bhishma, the great, all-knowing, wise general. Even after hearing that, Pavanani cha sarvasya, and that instruction had the power to purify everything. It had the power and the potency to lead humankind for the rest of eternity on the perfect path. Yudhishthira Shantavanam, and it satisfied Yudhishthira's heart. Yet, Yudhishthira had one last question. Punar eva abhyabhashitam. Again, he asked something. And then he says, Yudhishthir began to speak. He said, Kim ekam devatam loke, kim vapyamekam parayanam, stunvantah kam archanta, prapnyur manava shubham. So he says, Yudhishthir said, Kim ekam devatam loke. Oh, my dear Bhishma, you gave so many beautiful instructions. My final question is this. Please tell me, who is the one supreme personality of Godhead whom I can give my heart and life and everything to? My faith, my trust, my everything. Kim Vapyam Ekaparayanam. And what is that ultimate form of approach? Is it ritual? Is it prayer? Is it meditation? Is it what? What? Ekam Parayanam. Stunvatakam Archantam. And then he says, what is the ultimate destination of the living being? Tell me the ultimate destination. You told me what is the dharma of a king, what is this, what is that, and the goals of life and dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Now just finally tell me the one ultimate destination. Prapnur manava shubham, which is the undoubtedly the most auspicious, the most complete goal for humanity, complete goal for every living being in this world. And then he goes on to say, Ko dharma sarva dharmana bhavata paramo matah kim japan muchyate jantur janma samsara bandhana. All the words are so familiar, right? In so many. Ko dharma sarva dharmana. He says, which is the dharma of what is the ultimate dharma of all dharmas? If I can't do my dharma someday, what will satisfy my heart knowing that, okay, I did this dharma, it's okay, I tried my best, but at least this. So give me that dharma, dear Bhishma, because in this world you've spoken so many things, but how will we possibly in the age of Kali successfully execute all the dharmas of our life? It's so difficult. There'll be so many challenges, both internal by our own mind and external. So tell me, ko dharma sarva dharmana bhavata paramo matah kim japan muchyate jantur. And there comes the potent um, um, point, which is the glory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift to us. And Yudhishthir indirectly hints that ultimately the way for spiritual perfection is Kim Japan Muchyate Jantur. He says, tell me that what is the japa? What is the chanting? What should I always have on my lips? What can be my to go in all these ups and downs and lefts and rights of my life? What can I hold on to always as the anchor? Kim Japan Muchyate Jantur Janma Samsara Vandana, which will free me from the cycle of birth and death, from the cycle of uh, happiness and distress and victory and gain and loss and profit and all these cycles, what will liberate me from? And then Shri Bhishma Uvacha. This question was actually the question which satisfied Bhishma, because he was a pure devotee. And I'm sure all of you great Vaishnavas can definitely relate to this.
Hi Krishna everyone. There seems to be some issue with Karnaganga Prabhu's connection and he has left. Probably he will join us back in a minute or so. Just please wait.
You know this story, Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Bali Maharaj's Mahajana,
Yes.
the great soul.
Adipurush Prabhu,
Hare. So I'm so sorry, my battery. I hadn't connected the charger properly. It just died in the middle. I'm so sorry. Sorry for disturbing everybody. Okay, so I'll just continue. So then he says, so then Bhishma begins to answer. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Jagat Prabhum Devadevam Anantam Purushottamam Stuvannama Sahasrena Purusha Satatottitaha. And oh yes, I was asking you a question that I'm sure you've had this experience, and for anyone who's awakened a spirit of a higher consciousness in bhakti, when the topics of, if someone asks you your professional field of expertise, you would be happy to answer. But as our consciousness grows in bhakti and as we begin to relish bhakti more, if someone asks us something related to bhakti, it really delights us. It really makes us feel happy and we are so eager to answer, isn't it? Same is for Bhishma. All this time he was answering questions from his field of expertise, for sure. Nobody could be as good as better than Bhishma to answer all those questions on politics and dharma and this and that. But now his heart, he's like, yes, this is the question I was waiting for. And that's the question answer which we also read in the Bhagavatam, which Yudhishthira asks and Bhishma is answering. And so Bhishma says, Jagat Prabhum Deva Devam. He says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantam Purushottamam. He is unlimited. He is the master of all masters. Stuvan Nama Sahasrena, Purusha Satottihi. And to simply glorify him. That's where our texts are coming in. Simply by hearing the activities and glorifying the activities of Vaman Dev, he's saying that is the best and that is the ultimate form. Tam eva charchayan nityam bhaktya prurusham avyayam dhyayan stuvan namasyascha yajamanastameva cha. He's saying with great faith, devotees should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, whose form, opulence, pastimes are eternal and transcendental. The devotee should glorify him, continually meditate on his transcendental form, and offer obeisances bowing down before him. And these sentiments are so easily evoked when we think of Vamandev. Krishna has so kindly performed his pastimes in unlimited incarnations, in unlimited forms, and unlimited stories for us to be able to visualize him, to imagine, right? Yes, of course, maybe our imagination is still created by our mind and intelligence, but it's definitely guided by Shastra, and therefore it's as good as a true spiritual vision. So we can imagine, right? He's saying, with great faith, one should worship whose form, Vamandeva's form, was the most beautiful form. And we'll see specifically, we'll come to that. His qualities, his opulence, and his pastimes are all eternal and transcendental. They're still going on somewhere in some universe. And in our universe, Vamandev is still there. In Sutala Loka, he's guarding as the doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj. The devotee should glorify him like we've been doing for the past eternity in our Bhagavatam classes, and continually meditate on his transcendental form. Isn't it a beautiful meditation that this little boy who is so tiny, he's called Vamana, which means he's a dwarf. He's a bona or a dwarf. Like he's in a sense abnormally height for a human being. He's not supposed to be that tiny. And then he becomes Trivikrama, someone who completely, he becomes the master of Trivikrama, one who is the master of the threes. What threes does he master? He masters the three planetary systems. He masters the three modes of nature. He masters the three miseries of the world. He masters, so that's why Trivikrama. If someone takes shelter of Vamandev, then all these threes are easily conquered, which are always troubling us in our life. And then he says, unlimited, and he's the best of persons. One should enthusiastically, the devotee should glorify him, continually meditate on his transcendental form, and offer obeisances. And naturally, when we think of it, oh, Vamandev became Trivikrama, automatically it will make us pay obeisances in awe, in like, wow, what an amazing personality. Look how Vamandev crashed through the top, his top toe broke the shell of the top of the universe. Brahma worshipped it, and from there, the Viraja river, which flows between the material and the spiritual worlds, entered into this planetary system to become the all-purifying Ganges water. And then he says, Anadhinidhanam Vishnum Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Lokadhyaksham Stuvan Nityam Sarva Dukkatiko Bhavit. He's saying Anadi Nidhanam Vishnu. Krishna, there was never a time Krishna came into existence, and there is no future when he will cease to exist. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the ultimate controller of everything. Loka Dhyasam Stuvan Nityam. He's all pervading, all knowing, witnessing everything. And Loka Dhyasam Stuvan Nityam Sarva Dukkadiko Bhavet. A person who regularly glorifies him becomes free from all material miseries and attains a liberated condition of life even in this life. He is immediately freed from the miseries of the material world just by giving attention to, I'm just remembering that Radhanath Maharaj used to take these yatras every year and used to spend just maybe 14 to 20 days in a dham. And literally those days, and I think many of you have been to those kinds of yatras or any such yatras for that matter, where we are completely immersed, we completely forget our material existence in a way. We totally cut off from our roles and jobs and this and that, and we are just totally in the dham with devotees day and night, visiting places, hearing katha, and literally you can feel liberated completely. You can really feel like, yes, this is, I'm in the spiritual reality. There's nothing more. And so he's saying, and what do we do on those yatras? Glorify Krishna. You go to some place, oh, this is what Krishna did here. Oh, wow, great. And go to this place and then do kirtan, have prasad, and it's the spiritual reality. And then, so Baldev Vidyabhushan gives a commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranama, and he says that these verses describe the immense potency of glorifying Krishna, right? That's what our shloka is saying today, that if we just glorify this Vamandev pastimes. And he writes, Sakrit Uchcharitam Yena Harir iti aksharam dvayam Baddha Parikarastena Mokshaya Gamanam Prati. He says, if one chants the two syllables Hari iti aksharam, these two words, he is immediately free from all material bondage. Sakrit eva parigitam shraddhaya helaya vaya. So, and in this, again, very similar shloka which comes in the Bhagavatam, if one chants either with faith or even casually or even with contempt,
still he'll be liberated. For all those people who pass by our Harinam parties and say, aha, look at the Hare Krishnas, liberated. Or, yuck, these Hare Krishnas disturbing our peace here, liberated. And then he says, then Bhishma continues to chant, Brahmanam sarvadharmanam lokanam kirtivardhanam lokanatham mahadbhutam sarvabhuta bhavodbhavam. Lord Vishnu is the protector, the well-wisher of every living being, aware of all the principles of religion, the Lord who expands his glory. So what he's trying to say is, the Lord is the well-wisher. By glorifying him, we invite him into our hearts. And because he's our well-wisher, he will illuminate our hearts. Like the Gita says, Tesham evanukampartha aham ajnanajam tamah nashyami atma bhavasto. He'll sit in our hearts and completely glorify it and fill it with all auspiciousness. And then he's saying he's the origin, Sarva Bhuta Bhavat, even Brahma and Shiva and everyone will come and reside along with him because he is the father of every living being. And then finally he says, Esha me sarva dharmanam dharmo dhikatamo mataha yad bhaktya pundari kaksham stavair archanara sada. And then he says, I think the best of all spiritual activities, the best of all asceticism, the best of all meditation, the best of all everything is to continuously, devotedly worship the lotus-eyed Lord Krishna by reciting prayers in glorifying him and describing him and chanting his holy names. So beautifully, Bhishma answered those questions. Esha me sarva dharvanam dharmo dikottamo mataha yat bhaktya pundari kaksham stave archen narattama. And then he starts chanting the Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu, which are so beautiful. If you type on YouTube Vishnu Sahasranam and say M.S. Shubha Lakshmi, she was particularly, Prabhupada met her, she was from the Sri Sampradaya, and Prabhupada said that she's a pure devotee because she, an amazing voice. This is in the 1960s. I don't think she's left her body, but in the next 60s, 70s, she only chanted Krishna's name for her entire life. And that was her, if you hear those prayers chanted by her, you'll really feel, and it's chanted in the perfect, in the Vedic meters and in such a rhythm and such a power it will create. And now in that Vishnu Sahasranam, he glorifies Krishna, and then he, as a particular verse, he glorifies Vamandev. So he recites, Upendro Vamana Pramshur Amogha Shuchir Urjitaha Atindra Sangraha Sargo Dhritatma Niyamo Yamaha. Upendro Vamana Pramshur. He says, Upendra, he who appeared as the younger brother of Indra. And although he used a very interesting word, Upendra. Indra, younger brother, true, but Upa also means greater than. So therefore, he simultaneously said he's the younger brother of Indra, but he's much greater than Indra. Vamana. Vamana is a dwarf, someone who's very small. But then he said, Vamana, don't think I'm just going to end with the word Vamana. Pramshur. He expanded the entire universe, was like a tiny puddle of a calf print for this gigantic Vamana. So that gives us an amazing contrast in this personality. He's Vamana and he simultaneously became Pramshur. Amogha Shuchir Urjitaha. Amogha. His activities are always free of, here he's describing it as Amogha also means free of sin, and here he's saying are always successful. There is no question if Vamandev enters our life that we will not be successful on every front. And Shuchihi, he's supremely pure. He's, everything can be made, right? Because when he was invoked by Aditi, they had success, Amogha. He's supremely pure because even the most contaminated, externally contaminated place of the demons was made pure by his presence and clean. And he's Urjitaha, means extremely powerful. Even the great Bali who had conquered everything, the great Shukracharya, the spiritual master of the demons, they couldn't do anything in front of his power. Atindra Sarga Sangho. Atindra means He easily defeated Bali and he surpasses the strength of Indra. Sangraha, and he accepts they who become devoted to him. So just see, again a contrast. He defeated Bali, he's defeating this left, right. But the minute Bali surrendered to him, he more than accepted him. He said, oh, you're surrendering to me? Wait a minute, I'm going to be your doorkeeper. I'm going to do this for you. Sudarshan, go protect him. So and then he said, Sarga. And he is, again, he conquered the universe, but he created the universe. He's Sargo. He is the source of everything which creates. Dhritatma. And then he said, Dhritatma niyamo yamaha. Dhritatma. He enchants and delights the hearts of the devotees. He creates the dhrita, or the determination to continue devotional service in the hearts of the devotees. The beauty of these pastimes is every time we hear a beautiful pastime or a glorification of Krishna, our determination, dhritatma, to continue the path of spiritual life gets re-energized, gets recharged. Yes, I am going to, this is the goal of my life. This is where I want to be. Dhritatma. Niyama yamaha. Niyama and yamaha used in this context mean he controls his devotees in a good way. When we love someone, we love to be controlled by them. My little daughter, I love it when she makes me do something that's the pleasure of my life. Oh, that, because that's the nature of love. And therefore he controls devotee who's so happy that finally Krishna is telling me, like, when we are even close to some great Vaishnavas and the Vaishnava tell us something, we are so eager. I've always been so amazed by the devotion of, I remember when any great sannyasi used to come to the Bhakti Center, or even all the temples I had been, always the Matajis were more than eager. They used to be standing outside the door. The personal servant will come out and say, and they used to say, okay, so what can Maharaj eat and not eat? And they'll give a list, and they will spend hours and prepare a beautiful offering. And perhaps even the Maharaj wouldn't know who are the names of people who cooked, but just to be controlled by the love of the devotee, that feeling of, yes, this is what I want to do. Or when someone gives an instruction, it is the pride of a devotee. Yes, I got an instruction. I can, so like that. And then he says Yamaha. So he's Niyama and Yamaha, and he resides in the hearts and the minds of the devotees, which means they control him. Which means it's not that that only it's that it actually means Krishna likes to control his devotees because they are pleased for their pleasure, but he actually wants to be controlled by his devotees. So therefore he's saying it like this. And Baldev Vidyabhushan, he adds to this commentary, he says that Dvada Shaivadite Putra Shakra Mukhya Naradhipa Tesham Avarajo Vishnur Yatra Lokha Pratishtitaha. He says Aditi gave birth to 12 sons, and the eldest was Indra and the youngest was Vamana, who was actually Vishnu. And then he specifically comments on this name Pramshu. Baldev Vidyabhushan, he comments like this. He says, Toye tu patite haste vamano bhut avamanan sarva devamayan rupam darshayam asavai bhuvi. Says, although Vamandev was very small, he quickly expanded his form to include all the demigods. So he just completely conquered everything. And this is how I was going to summarize the whole pastime, but maybe we have a little less time. I'll just recite one more glorification from the very famous Jayadev Goswami's Dasha Avatar Stotra. And he says, Chalayasi Vikramane Balim Adbhuta Vamana Padanakha Nirajana Jita Jata Pavana Keshavadhrita Vamana Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare. So he's saying Chalayasi. Chala actually is to cheat. Chala. Chalapat is actually a negative word, but here it becomes the most beautiful. Chalayasi Vikramane. That person who cheated to gain victory. Chalayasi Vikramane Balim Adbhuta Vamana. And he conquered Bali and he became the Adbhuta Vaman. He became the wonderful. Adbhut is a word used in Sanskrit and Hindi and so many of the Indian languages. Adbhut is describing something which is awesome. I just feel awesome is used for every tiny thing in this, especially in the English language. So I was a little not so happy using just the word awesome, but imagine the most awesome. Adbhuta Vamana, Pada Nikha Nira, Janita Jana Pavana. And while doing all this with the nikha, with uh, the nail of the toe, which is considered a very inauspicious part. When we cut our nails, it's going to be Jai Shri Shri Radha Murlidhar Ji ki Jai. Sorry, just go 1 minute more. Sorry for.
Please feel free to continue. If you have
Okay.
more to share, please feel free to continue. Don't be pressurized by the darshan. We will carry on with the temple program.
Just 2-3
It's
minutes.
so amazing. I may not have the time to come later and express my gratitude. Your lecture is so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't realize today is the last day, like last verse of this whole section of Bali Maharaj's section. So it's an absolute glorification what you're doing through Vishnu Sahasranam and from the mouth of Bhishma Dev. So thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Really
Thank
great
you.
taking the time to prepare and share. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I must pass on the credit to Radha Devi Dasi, whoever she is. I don't know the great Vaishnavi. Just found her lecture on YouTube, and I'm almost parroting the entire lecture. So you could search the lecture, and she's a South Indian devotee, and she sings these mantras in the exact, very beautifully she recites. And actually, she quoted so many more stotras. I was a little slow, but so he's saying, Pada Nikha Nira Janita Jana Pavana. That means he who purified the nail of the foot of a person is usually a very contaminated part. But this person, Vamanadev, Pada Nakha Nira, by that little nail, Janita Jana Pavana, he created a way in which the entire universe for time, eternity will be purified by bringing the mother Ganges into this earth. Keshavadhrita Vamana Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare. So in this way, we are so grateful for the Lord to perform these amazing pastimes which give us something to really nectar the heart to get this. Especially today, I was just thinking, if Krishna hadn't done all these wonderful pastimes, how would I be able to tear myself away from Netflix and all the other wondrous things out there? If Krishna had just come and done something simple and like people so sometimes foolishly say that, oh, Krishna had 900,000 cows. How can that be? Vrindavan is so small. They start calculating. And then the answer I used to hear from many of the devotees was this, that, yeah, he's God. What else do you expect? So you want him to come with 5 cows and go grazing and then knock down, a little plant and say, oh, he destroyed Yamal Arjun trees. So they try to minimize or everything. But the same set of people will go on Netflix, and when there is some superhero doing amazing things, and then they're like, yeah, they're completely giving hearts and minds and everything. But instead, we are giving our hearts and minds and everything to reality, to real truth, to the real superheroes and the real wonderful things. Sorry, I'm just convincing myself again to hear Krishna Katha. And thank you very much. If anybody has any comments or anything to add, please feel free. Adipurush Prabhu and
Hi,
all Vaishnavas. Adipurush Prabhu, you're on mute.
Yeah, Gail has questions. Gail.
Oh,
yeah, but we all want you to go first, so
No, I'm fine.
I'm muted.
Please. You go.
Okay, just a couple of questions, quick ones. For one thing, I didn't realize that it seems by your talk that the Viraja River and the Ganges, they are synonymous. Is it?
thank you for bringing that up. And I am personally a little confused about that too, I must honestly admit. If any in this assembly has the real answer. But at one point, I do remember hearing, and even according to the description of this Chalayasi Vikramane, it is that, see, the translation is, "Oh, wonderful dwarf, by your massive steps you deceive King Bali, and by the Ganges water that has emanated from the nails of your lotus feet." So, but I also know on my own head, the other side is that, there's a story of the Ganges, how she came and this and that, the whole pastime. So but I think that, yes, the Ganges is the water from the river which comes into the material universe.
Okay, thank you. And one other question. No, not. I got a couple more. I didn't realize that. Again, from your talk, it seems like Bhishma Dev had a very kind of intimate or special relationship with Vamana Dev. Was that his Ishtadev, or how do I understand their relationship?
I'm not particularly sure about Vaman Dev, but I'm sure that this prayer is 1,000 names of Vishnu. So I recited how many names we took. Upendra Vamana Pramshur Amoga Shuchir Urjita Atindra Sangra Sargo Dhritatma Niyamo Yamaha 13. So like this 13, he goes for 1,000. And this is called the Vishnu Sahasranama, in which he glorifies. See, the next one he talks about is Vedya Vaidya Sada Yogi Viraha Madhavo Madhu Atindro Mahamayo Mahotsaha Mahabalaha. He talks about the Kurma avatar. He came to deliver the nectar, the Vedya and the Vaidya. Remember Dhanvantari, the doctor, Sada Yogi. And he talks about how he was the welfare, this thing. Viraha, he who supported in the churning of the Madhavo, Madhvi. Madhavo Madhu is referring to Mohini Murti. And then he said Atindro Mahamayo. Oh, sorry, Mahamayo here is Mohini Murti. Madhava Madhu Atindrayo, he who is invisible to someone who doesn't have devotion. Mahatsaha. And like this, he goes on. My print ends, so I don't know the rest of the translation. But so he's describing all these, and of course, perhaps like us, who maybe our Ishtadev is Radha Murlidhar, but we study the Bhagavatam, we study all these, and we know in detail so many of the pastimes of different incarnations too. So if someone asks us, can you tell us the Dash Avatar? We can at least summarize and tell. So same way, perhaps, that's my speculation, understanding, that Bhishma Dev, his Ishtadev, according to the Bhagavatam, was Krishna in Viryaras. It was a special, he says, Rathanga Panir, the word used in the Bhagavatam, that may I leave my body, seeing you charging at me, holding the wheel of the chariot to kill me. That form of yours is what I want to remember for the rest of my life. So maybe that was Ishtadev, but
that's what I thought. That's why I
Yeah.
found it curious, that he was referring to Vamana Dev in this way, where you said
Yeah.
that, just meditating on Vamana Dev is the best thing we can do for our life. By the way, do you have the scriptural reference for that part of the conversation, including, the part where he said, when Yudhishthira was also asking what's the best thing we could do? Do you have the script reference for that?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is Vishnu. This is Vishnu Sahasranam. The
so that
The whole
conversation is in there?
yeah. So the Vishnu Sahasranam is beautiful. It starts with the conversation. Kim japan muchyate jantu kim vapaya parayana. Like that. So you will, when you play Vishnu Sahasranam, if you go on YouTube and play it, you'll hear it. It starts at this point where it actually starts from before. They build up a little bit, and then it starts directly quoting from Mahabharata, where Vaishampayanuvacha Shrutva Dharma Sheshena. So it's the story that, after hearing the talks on Dharma, then Yudhishthir went and like that.
Oh, I find it interesting that conversation is not in that part of the Bhagavatam, where Yudhishthira is trying to pacify, where Bhishma Dev is trying to pacify Yudhishthira. I thought that's where you were going to tell me to look, in that part.
It is in the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam gives the essential ultimate summary of the conversation, which is not even in the Vishnu Sahasranam. The conversation is in Mahabharata, which is called the Bhishma Parva. It's a massive part of the Mahabharata, the exposition of dharma by Bhishma. And that's in
Oh.
detail, all the rules, what he actually speaks, the advice on politics, the advice on dharma, the advice on this dharma, that dharma, the advice on what is sin, what is right, what is wrong. It's a huge thing. End of that is Vishnu Sahasranam. And the essence of Vishnu Sahasranam, the end final conclusion is the Bhagavatam. Where finally Bhishma leaves his body, and what consciousness he leaves his body in is what we want to take. Is in that consciousness of pure devotional service, in absolute devotion and surrender, and how he wants to just have Krishna in his heart, and that whole scene, and the Pandavas meeting him. So that's the Bhagavatam.
Okay, very interesting. Just one final thing, just to repeat. You said that because I know somebody who has this name, Amoga. It has two meanings. It means one is free of sin, and the other
Yes.
is success. It means
Yes.
all success, right?
Yes, because Amoga comes in the Gita, and there it is mentioned as one who's free of sin, can perform devotional service. And here it is saying Upendra Vaman. Amoga is his activities are always successful.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much. As usual, beautiful class from you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.